Okay, hello everybody. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Monique, and I'm on a financial health journey to create an inheritance for the generations to come. I want to do that through consistency and discipline. Today, we are here to talk about something a little different on my particular page, YouTube channel, and it is Notion, where I am starting to document some information in Notion now. I am not moving to Notion exclusively. I am still going to use my big monthly calendar that I draw out every month. I'm still going to use my weekly budget with me and weekly paycheck or check in that I do for my digital planner. This is really going to help me to track two things in particular, and that's my sinking funds and my March debt update, which are the two things that we are here to talk about today. But I do want to talk through just how I got where I am. I'd like to thank anybody who's liked or commented on any of my videos and those who've chosen to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you haven't made up your mind yet, sit with me for a spell at the end of this video. If you find that this is content you find valuable, please feel free to subscribe. So let me get a couple of disclaimers out there. First off, number one, this is not a tutorial. So if you clicked on this video to try and see how you build formulas in Notion, how do you finance or do budget in Notion. I don't think this is going to be the video for you. Maybe that will be some type of content that will come later on, but for right now, it's been a struggle just to get me set up. There is no way that I could talk anybody else through getting set up themselves. So this is not a tutorial. The second thing is this Notion and the way that I'm using it does not work the same as you need a budget or every dollar or anything like that. So there is no connection between Notion and any of my actual bank accounts themselves. So I wanted to make sure I say that as well because it's hard to say why people might click on the video that they're seeing. But what I am going to talk through is how I have built a few formulas in here to help me better with tracking my expenses and having some type of relationship with what I expect to have in my bank accounts. And then, as far as transactions are concerned, what's coming in and what's going out. So, how do we end up where we are? I've been watching a lot of content creators. Two in particular have talked about Notion. Shay Budgets talks about Notion a lot. Planning Serenity has started to talk about Notion as well. I want to do some things in Notion, not just for finances, but also for life as well. Shay Budgets offers a Q2 planning template. This is what you see here. I did download that, load it into a free version of Notion. And as I was documenting information in the different categories, I'm not going through this. Like I said before, it's not a tutorial of any type. But as I was documenting information here, I realized that this needs to feed into my monthly calendars for both April, May, and June. So documented what I needed to under Q2 planning. Then I built a database for April goals as I started to document the different things that I want to achieve for the month of April. And I did this a couple of weeks ago. Around mid March is when I started on this to prep for the beginning of this quarter. Um, I, excuse me, I had to burp. Sorry about that. But I built out my monthly goals. Some of them you see are numbers based or finance based, being able to track all my unplanned expenses, needing to pay chorus $99, etc. I also started to list life events and recognize that most of my life events are tied to money too. I want to repot my peace lilies. That's going to cost money. I got to buy pots or find pots from somewhere and I got to get some soil. A lunch date with Shan that I want to do, that's going to cost money. Even my Ridix application that I need to do for a house, just taking care of chores that I need to do here, going to cost money. So that got me down the path of should I build at least some type of template here so that it can associate with all these transactions that I already see we're going to have that then feed into like some bank account information. Again, there's no connection with the banks, but where I could load like what I expect to see in my accounts and see how this money is coming in and going out. So that's what I have worked through. Now, I'll talk about that in a second and what that looks like. But the big thing that we're here to do is to talk about two things in particular that I haven't done a great job of tracking, and that is Well, actually, one. One of them I do a pretty good job. The other one I do not. I do a pretty good job of tracking my debt. I have plenty of videos that you guys can see where I am tracking not just how much I'm making payments, how much my payments are, but what that starting balance is and that ending balance is, and then how much of that is actually going towards my principal so that I can really keep an eye on how much I'm advancing or progress that I'm making. So I'm doing a pretty good job of that one, but I figured out a way in Notion to make it a little bit easier. So we'll talk about that. And then sinking funds. So I don't do a good job of doing a month end wrap up of my sinking funds and where I've spent money or haven't spent money, what my totals are. Both of those seem to work really well in Notion. So I'm going to talk about that for March. And then we'll talk about what things look like for April as far as finances are concerned in Notion as well. So let me go to sinking funds first. Sinking funds, very simply, I'm going to track starting balance and ending balance, how I started the month, how I ended the month, and then a simple formula in Notion will take care of documenting the difference. I didn't start this until the middle of the month, so these numbers are a little off. They'll be better come April. But a couple of things that I did notice was that within the difference, you can see very clearly where there have been major payments made or major deductions in the sinking fund category. So here is where I would also document what that is. So I just started this notes column actually today so that I can track where I see those big spends, what those big spends were around, just so that I can keep my mind on what I'm doing there. And so I spent $250 and that out of the Corinne bucket. And that was because of a chorus trip payment that I needed to make, 220 around getting my taxes prep. Again, I documented that there. So that was one of the things that I noticed that Notion does allow me to do right here. And then I've got that already documented someplace. But also it sums up all of these different columns that are associated with amounts. So by the end of March, my starting balance was 2357. I ended at 2158, so it was a negative 199. I always like for this number to be positive, but at the end of the day, this is the reason why you save the money is that you'll have it to spend when necessary. So when it came time now to move to April, all I did was hit those three dots. I duplicated the form. When I duplicated the form, I moved it up here where you see here sinking funds. And what I decided to do was I took the name column, copied that, and pasted it. And then I took the end balance and made that the starting balance for April. So now my sinking fund setup for the month of April is already done, and it took less than a minute for me to do that. So that was really awesome. And then my debt update. So what I noticed here is that Notion allows me to give that starting balance, the ending balance, but also to track payments, charges, and my principal payment as well all together. And I'm not having to manually figure a lot of this out again. Formulas can be added. Now, you'll notice Best Buy and Rooms to Go are showing zeros across the board. I'm not using those cards, so no start or end balance, no payments, and no charges. But they are still open and active. That's why I listed them here, although the amounts are zero. Then you have Kohl's. It's the only place that I saw a charge amount, and that was a little bit different than you've seen in the past. For all of these, I don't do charges anymore. I haven't been charging anything. It's been cash consistently. But what I realized is I did not have a clothing or clothes sinking fund. I needed to order some clothes or get some clothes for church, and I didn't have any funds available. So I ended up having to swipe. So I have changed that. That's another good thing about documenting everything and having that information available. I have changed that. I've now started a self-care binder, which includes clothes as one of the categories. And so I shouldn't get caught off guard the next time. And then it goes from there. Ally and Discover. They're general purpose credit cards that are both on a balance transfer 0% interest. So all the money that I pay towards those goes directly to the principal. And I was able to make an extra debt payment to Discover, and that's why that amount is higher than typical. Typically that says $100, but I was able to do an extra 150 on that one as well. So it continues on from there. You can see all of these numbers. I'm not going to go through them piece by piece, but what I will say again, remember how Notion gives you that sum down here at the bottom and it calculates the columns for you if there are amount columns. And so I have not figured out a way to remove my mortgage. If you guys know or seen any of my videos, then you know I'm not really concerned about paying off my mortgage. So I usually factor that out, and everything else I consider consumer debt. And so I haven't figured out a way yet in Notion to have it documented here, but not calculated in the sum. If I figure it out, I'll let you guys know and we'll see some updates. But for right now, and I'm going to pull out my calculator so that I can figure this out. But the total debt that you're looking at here is $159,055.25. I was able to pay $1,751.43 on payments. There was a charge, $59.34. So my imbalance is $158,202.22. Out of that 1751, $853.03 went towards the principal payment. Now I'm going to take that in balance, 158, 202, 22, and I'm going to subtract 109, 292, 25, and that equals $48,909.97. Basically, $48,910 is my consumer debt, and I'll put that in the title for this particular video so that you guys will have that as my consumer debt so that I can stay consistent on the numbers that I'm reporting as far as my debt update. I will keep this information here. I will copy this, duplicate it. I'll duplicate it for April, rename it for April, April debt update. I will take the ending balance and that will be the starting balance for April. Got it? So that is how I'll be tracking those two numbers, and I will provide that information in a video through Notion going forward. Everything else is going to remain just as it is today. Now, as far as my keeping track here of what I'm doing from a finance perspective, this is what I've decided to do. Under April accounts, I've got four accounts listed: my bills checking, variable expense checking, sinking fund, and cash, if I have any cash that I'm going to use. And what I'll be able to do here is I'll be able to manually enter any starting number that I want to as far as a balance is concerned for these accounts. And I can tell you right now, it's going to factor out any cushion or any buffer. Just what I want to work with for the month is all that will be listed here. Okay. So for right now, I'm just going to do $50 all the way down. So say I started with $50 all the way down. What I've done is I've built, and this is from a YouTube video that I saw, but I've built in a relationship between all of that information as far as what's in my account and income, bills, and expenses. The way this works is that income, for example, say I got paid and I got paid $50. Okay. That doesn't change anything. You'll notice here under April accounts, all of my numbers still look the same from when I entered those in a few minutes ago. But this, having a destination account where money is supposed to go into or a source account where money comes out, is where I've learned how to build that relationship in these formulas. So what happens is when I say here, I made $50 and I want to put it in my bills account. The bills checking account is now the destination. When we go back over here to April accounts, look here. It shows that I got an income into that for $50 and now my balance is 100. Another thing, expenses would work basically the same way. So say on April the 1st, I went to Wally World. Here it shows source. Okay, you went to Walmart. How much did you spend? $10. Where did you spend that money out of? Here's where I would say what account. If I say I spent that money out of my variable expense checking account, now Notion will automatically add that $10 expense here, subtract it from the $50 balance, and now I end up with $40 as my balance going forward. So that is how I am going to use Notion going forward. Again, I won't be showing a lot of video on this. This is just my way of doing another set of tracking. This tracking is not only done here, but this Notion is actually synced with my iPad mini that I take with me everywhere I go. And that is going to be another place that I can document any transactions, money coming in, money going out. And as long as it has a source account or a destination account set up with the right formulas, it would automatically give me a real time account on what my balances are looking like for all of these accounts. And so we'll see how that goes for the month of April. I'm hoping that I will see success. This has been a long process to work through, but I'm hoping that this again will help me to curb some of my unplanned expenses because it'll be a lot more difficult to see cushion built in. Remember, I'm manually entering these numbers in. So that way I can make sure that I never consider anything that I'm setting up as a buffer. All right, I think that is it. I've talked way longer than I anticipated, but thanks everybody for your time, and you guys have a good one.